Hello people, Juggler here, and this video I've wanted to do for a while. It's DBD versus Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Which one is the better game? Because a lot of people I've seen in videos have been saying, oh, they're not similar at all. Well, they are. Of course they are. They're both asymmetrical horrors. It's, you know, people versus people, player versus player. And you've got killers and survivors or victims and family members. So I'm going to go over some points of which one I think is better. There is always going to be one what's better, so I'm going to try and go through each area, like killers, survivors, perks, lobbies, waiting times, graphics, immersion, Leatherface in general, longevity, developers, fun factor, and anxiety levels of playing the game. So I'm going to go through each point and try and give an opinion on which one I think is going to be better. Obviously, I think DBD will last longer. It's just a fact. It's been around for like 7 years now. I think it's 2016 when it came out. And you're never going to get a game which has the ability to put Bill from Left 4 Dead alongside Nick Cage and Ripley against Ghostface. Like, it's ridiculous how far they've came since 2016 when it was just like Hillbilly, Rafe, Trapper, and Nurse, I think. Nurse might have actually been the first new killer. But let's get started on killers. I think the killer experience on Texas Chainsaw Massacre needs some work. Things like being able to stun lock someone in an animation it's just so boring. It's like I've never experienced something so obnoxiously annoying in DBD. Like, yeah, flashlights can be annoying, but they're avoidable. I think if you happen to walk into the door at the wrong time and get slammed down, you are kind of locked in that for a good 10 to 20 seconds. Eventually be able to get out because you'll just slowly edge backwards and be able to chase them. But that's not fun. That's not a fun mechanic. Why is that in the game? The killer's powers, I think Leatherface could do with some work. He feels very clunky to play. I actually main Sissy on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think she's really, really fun. I like the fact that you can be the blood gatherer at the same time as trapping areas of poison, so you've got like map-wide knowledge. I'll place like a cloud over the fuse box, and that way I can do that, go feed Grandpa, and keep the game rolling. And it's really nice having that kind of information killer. Cook is probably one of the best killers in the game, but he is probably the least fun to play. The fact that he can padlock doors is insane for getting people not being able to rush you, which is really, really nice. But he feels slow. He just feels clunky to play. I can't really say anything else. I enjoy playing as this again is a personal opinion. Obviously, you might think Cook is the most fun person to play as ever, but I like playing as Sissy. I like playing as a hitchhiker. I've never actually played as Johnny, but I've heard he's quite fun to play. He's like basically like a bloodhound. He tracks people's footsteps, and he's a bit of a Chad. Leatherface is satisfying if you go insta-down chainsaw build, and that's about it. And that's not very fun. Say if you go insta-down chainsaw build and you find a victim, that's not fun for the victim. They're not going to enjoy that, are they? You go to them straight away, you down them one shot, they get about 25 points. That's not a fun experience. So that's the killers. I mean, if you talk about DBD killers, you've got over 30. You're not going to be able to compete. Like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the moment cannot compete with DBD because they've got all the licenses. They've even got Leatherface. They've got the license for the game, what this whole game is based on. So DBD wins hands down for killers. Now, survivor experience for me is different because I actually enjoy playing victim on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It feels so much more fun just because it really feels like you're in a movie. You get that stress of playing against someone who's going to kill you, which I originally had with DBD back in, God, it might be like 2017. If I ever played against a hag, it used to terrify me. I don't know why. It was like the jump scare factor, whereas on this game, I'm getting that feeling back whilst playing the victim. I'm not really good as victim at all. I'm terrible, but it feels fun because it does feel like there's a real sense of danger, which is really, really nice. Whereas on DBD, I think the survivor experience, if you're not being chased, it's kind of lame, where the survivor experience on Texas Chainsaw is fun because you are actually like working towards goals of, you know, I know obviously repairing generators on DBD is, you know, that's the goal, but on Texas Chainsaw you've got 3 killers who are all spread across the map, and if you're working on a lock, you might start to see that yellow aura appear where a killer's getting near to you or a family member. That's fun. It's like edge of the seat kind of stuff, and you can really make some really spicy end game things of like escaping. Whereas with DBD, the survivor experience is, if you're being the person being chased, that's really fun. If you're just sat on gens, is that fun? Not really. I don't really enjoy sitting on gens. It's not very interactive. I do think DBD needs some work on more objectives for survivors. Not something what will slow the game down any more than it needs to, because at the moment I think it's at a good level of get the gens done. If you get all the gens done like really quick, you can do it in 5 minutes. Obviously, with a killer placed into that, it makes the games last between 5 and 20 minutes unless you score much, and then it's 45 minutes or an hour. I think Texas Chainsaw wins on Survivors. I think it's more fun to play as a victim on Texas Chainsaw than it is to play Survivor on DBD. And that's just my opinion, obviously. Next we have Perks. DBD has... God, wow, I don't even know how many perks. It's got hundreds. So many perks, because every killer or survivor has 3 teachable perks, and then there's some which aren't even from the killers or survivors. So that can change every game. This is why DBD stays so fresh, because every game can be different. You can have different survivors, different skill levels, different killers, and then different perks, and then different maps, because each one can change the game dramatically. Like a Blood Warden could change the game dramatically. That's just one perk. A Hex Ruin can change the game a lot. Just one simple perk can change the game massively, whereas the perks on Texas Chainsaw don't feel as... I don't know what the word is. They don't feel like the like game changing, but that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing for them, because I think it gives a bit more balance. It doesn't... If I see a lobby and I see 4 specific survivors, I don't think, oh god, I'm gonna get stomped. I mean, obviously Connie is strong with the lock picking. Leyland can do the shoulder barge, which can be quite annoying, and it can really come in clutch. And then the actual perks themselves of like blood harvesting, I use that on Sissy just to gain the blood quicker. It can change the game, obviously, but I don't think it's at the same kind of level as DBD, where if you play a DBD game, you can sort of tell what perks someone's got, and you can see what the game's going to change into. Like NOAD can change the game massively. Same with No Way Out. Like, you could be hard losing and you could all of a sudden win because of one perk. I like that. I like the fact that you don't know what you're playing against and you have to kind of work it out. That's really fun for me, especially when I'm playing killer and I have to work out what survivors have got. Didn't used to be fun when Dead Hard was a thing. That's not a fun experience, baiting out a Dead Hard, even though half of them don't have Dead Hard. That was poor design, but that's been fixed. So that's perks. I would say... God, that's a hard one. I'd say it's 50-50. I'm sitting on the fence with that one because I like the fact that it's simple on Texas, but I also like the fact that it's complicated on DBD. That's a really safe answer, but that's just, again, my opinion. Now, this is one thing that's going to really swing in the favor of DBD, the lobby time. Oh my god, Texas Chainsaw, please just turn it into 1 minute. Why is it like 4 minutes? It's ridiculous. And you get people who join, don't ready up, and then they leave, and it turns into 1 minute 40 again or something ridiculous. And that brings me on to another thing with the Texas Chainsaw. You should, in my opinion, be able to pick the killer you're going to play as before you go into a lobby, because I'm not joking the amount of times, which surprised me, by the way, I've seen people join and don't want to be Leatherface. I don't want to be Leatherface. I want to play as Sissy. That's who I want to play as, and that's the one I've leveled up. So you go into a lobby, someone else is Sissy, I have to leave that lobby because I don't want to play as someone else, or you get people spamming it saying, you go Leatherface, you go Leatherface. That's stupid. I don't understand. To me, that is really dumb. Why isn't it like a queue system of you press who you want, you go into a lobby, and then that's that. It's 1 minute wait time just so people can be ready. And then if you do play Leatherface, you might be rewarded by getting to games quicker. I don't see how anyone can lose this. If you're not prepared to play as Leatherface, you should be not punished, but you shouldn't be rewarded and go into games quicker than someone who wants to play Leatherface. I'm very surprised by that, by the way, because in the beta, when I played it, everyone wanted to be him. Now, I think people are starting to feel like he's not as fun as the other killers. That might be wrong, but I personally just prefer playing as Sissy. She's really fucking cool. Lobby waiting times on DBD is very simple. You go in, the game starts. It's not so bad. It's like a minute or something, and then you've got a little bit of a loading screen. Which brings me on to my next point. The waking up grandpa thing needs to go. That little animation... It just needs to go. It's so frustrating if you are chasing someone as Leatherface and someone opens a door and there's like this weird bug where it'll continue revving even though you're not, and you'll just stall your chainsaw, which is stupid. So in a way, you're punished for finding someone early because you're chasing someone and then someone else opens a door or someone feeds grandpa, he wakes up and you're still revving your chainsaw, so you stall. Remove that animation. I'd even suggest maybe having an option of not having to watch the first. I don't like the animations at the start. Like it's really cool the first like 5 or 6 times you play it, but when you get locked into them, it's not very engaging at all, which is yeah, quite frustrating. But again, this video is just basically my opinion on both games, and yeah, it's not really anything too entertaining. That's why I've got Texas Chainsaw playing in the background. It's just some of the games I've played, some of my better games, so hopefully it's a little bit entertaining to watch. Next up is the graphics. Texas Chainsaw wins, hands down. It's creepy, it's eerie, they've done really well with the lighting. DBD's old, but I like the graphics of DBD, so it's not anything against them. It's just it's an older game. They have updated it. They're updating the maps constantly, which is really nice to see, because the maps, every time they recolorize, retexture a map, it looks so much nicer than it used to. If you look at some of the old footage from like 2016, 2017, oh my god. Even the run animation looks janky. I used to play back then as well, and a lot of people say, oh, that was when DBD was good. No, it wasn't. It's just no one had a clue what they were doing. People have learned how to play the game now. It's like anything. You can compare that to, say, World of Warcraft. I used to play that in Classic and Burning Crusade. I remember Naxxramas 40 man, it's a raid. That took ages to clear. It took months and months. And then they re-brought out Classic. Everyone knew how to play it, so it got cleared in a night. People learn how to play games. Like, you don't need to live in the past. The game is better now. It really is. Like, you're deluded if you think otherwise, because it was janky, it was buggy. It was never always going to be a party game. People like winning games. I like winning games. We're all guilty of it. People like to swear. It's a fact. Even if you compare that to, say, someone like Aaron or the JRM, they play really fun, but they still want to win. Like, the way they play is not, in my opinion, toxic anyway. They're really, really, really good loopers. And even though, like, they come across, like, funny and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, they still want to win the game. And that's nothing against them. I want to win the game. Like, that's just fact. No one wants to get put on a hook and, like, tunneled out straight away. You want to have a good time. That's just the way it is. Okay, so next up we've got Immersion. Texas Chainsaw Massacre wins on that front for me, personally. It's just... it feels like you're in a movie. Again, that's probably just down to DBD's age and the graphics setting and stuff like that. But I will add this, with the new Alien chapter going into the Alien map. It felt cool. It felt really, really cool. And if you just look up at the sky, the amount of detail and like the artwork, what's gone into it, everything just looks really nice. And the map's interactive, which again, I hope they start doing that more, because it's really cool. But yeah, overall, a newer game's going to win in that. Next, I put down Leatherface. I've got like a list of like buzzwords for me to like kind of like trigger something, so I actually start talking about it. And Leatherface in both games is very, very different. In DBD, he's like this machine who can just break through pallets and one-shot people, and if he's got the right add-ons, he can continue chainsawing people. And I think, in my opinion, that is more how I view Leatherface from the films, because he's an absolute relentless beast. But in the films, he also does miss chainsaw attacks, he goes through walls, he destroys objects. So they're both, again, I think that's 50-50. I do prefer the Leatherface of DBD, because he just... a good Leatherface is scary to play against, because he can shred through pallets, and he can he can slug and snowball so quick. It feels like you're playing against an Oni who's always in the power but without the speed, obviously. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just think Leatherface is scary in DBD. A good one. Not a face camping Bubba who just sits there like staring at someone. I mean the ones who tear the map to pieces and then at the end game just destroy you all because there's nothing left to loop on. Next up, I've got longevity of both games. DBD's already won that one. Do I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre will stand the test of time? I think for now it will. I think it's got potential. I do really, really enjoy it. I'm still enjoying it. And I think a lot of people are enjoying it. It's just, it's got a few things what need tweaking. I know they keep preaching how they want to be a fun party game and it's not about being competitive. People are already bringing out maps to show where certain locations are. People like working these things out. There's always going to be that. If the player base, the game wouldn't survive if the player base was only people who wanted immersion only. There'd be about 300 people. You need those competitive people. That's how you build a community. You need a mixture of everyone. You're never gonna, with this kind of game, you're never gonna have every game being a party game. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with DBD. I think that was the original plan with DBD. But again, it will last. I don't think it'll last forever. I think eventually people will get bored of it, but they need to keep it fresh. That's down to the developers. They need to bring out new maps, new killers, new survivors, new perks, different ways to do things. Maybe rejig maps. Use the same maps again and rejig them more. Like, there's so much they can do with this, and they've got so much potential. And they've also kind of got free reign of making killers which don't have to be based on Texas Chainsaw, but they have to be kind of, they have to fit in with the lore kind of thing, I guess. They have to be like these kind of redneck, hillbilly kind of people. But that, I think they should really add at least another, I don't know, maybe they want to be adding, in my opinion, at least a new killer or family member right now every 3 months, I'd say. I know that's what DBD does, but I do think this game is going to need more killers, and they need to somehow interpret a way of not having to have Leatherface. I know that sounds silly to some people, but if they're not going to rework the queue system, they need to do something about that, because it's, or bring another version of like a beast out, another Leatherface style character. It doesn't have to be Leatherface, but maybe a butcher of some sort, or someone who can destroy the objects and work around the basement. I just don't think the game will last if they have to have a plethora of Leatherface mains around there. And yeah, it needs, I think they have got another map being worked on. I think it's called Junkyard, and then another killer, which is some like old lady who puts down barbed wire traps. So that's coming out soon, I think, or in the next few months. But right now, the game is surviving because it's brand new, and people are a little bit sick of DBD because of things like Skull Merchant and Knight. It's doing well because of other games' failures, because a lot of the community is going to be DBD players or people who are sick of DBD who want to try something new, and eventually they'll get sick of this if it doesn't keep updating. But I do think the development team seems quite good, and they seem to actually give a shit, so they are listening to people's feedback, which is always a good sign, but they should be doing that at the start of a game. If they weren't, then it'd be really, really worrying. On to the developers then. So I think DBD developers get a lot of stick when they do try. I think a lot of stuff is out of their hands. I don't think they purposely make a game to make everyone miserable. I do think the Skull Merchant as a killer was really looked over, and I think the Skull Merchant could have been really cool. I think the drones could have been done very differently. Instead of ones where you just plonk, ones that maybe zone in on people and follow them. But that would be similar to the Knight. It's a really hard one for me, that the Skull Merchant seems like such a big flop. I don't agree with people saying the Knight sucks. I think the Knight, as in not sucks, but like isn't fun. I actually enjoy playing against the Knight. I know it sounds weird. I also enjoy playing as a Knight. I tend to not play the Knight because every time I do, I get absolutely like ridiculed for it by people in the endgame chat, so why bother? I know it's a bit daft to say that, but I don't want people to have a bad time just because of playing against a certain killer. So the developers, 50-50. I think both sets are trying to make their games better, and I think they're trying the best. At the moment, it looks like the Texas Chainsaw ones probably are better because they're more vocal about stuff. But DBD's a bigger game, there's a lot more to balance, so 50-50 on that one. Next up is the fun factor. I really enjoy playing DBD as a killer, and don't think that's going to change anytime soon, just because they do bring out a new killer every few months. Obviously, sometimes they're misses, sometimes they're hits, but I'm an Oni main, and I really enjoy the Oni. I find every game seems to be very different. I can have these early game stomp fests, or I can have one where I'm sweating and breaking every single pallet on the map, and then the end game becomes my stomp fest, or I can have ones where everyone escapes, and that's frustrating, but every game's different, man. It's like, it's really good. I love the fact that you can play Myers about 4 different ways. And again, you can play as Michael Myers against Nicolas Cage. What other game can you do that in? Or Michael Myers versus Ash from Evil Dead. Like, there's so many different variations of killers and survivors, which I think a lot of people don't seem to understand how hard it must be to get all of those licensed. You've got Freddy Krueger, you've got Ghostface, you've got Leatherface, you've got Pinhead. I never thought I'd see Pinhead in this game. I reckon a lot of people who play DBD probably don't even have a clue who Hellraiser is. But that's insane. And I've got a funny feeling the Predator's going to come out this year, and if it does, wow. And if Dutch is the survivor, oh my god, that'll just like be so insane. It'd be so insane. They've even got Demogorgon. Like, the list goes on and on. It's crazy. So fun factor for me is DBD. Texas Chainsaw is really fun at the moment, so I guess right now Texas Chainsaw wins, but I'm not going to be wearing rose-tinted goggles with this. For me, DVD is always going to be more fun in the long run because I know I'm going to get bored of Texas Chainsaw. I've already had a few games where I thought, ugh, this is a bit draining. Just purely because people like rush out really quick. I know there's ways of preventing it, but I just feel like you need to be on comms with all the killers, and you need to be on comms if you don't need to be on the comms as much if you're the survivors or the victims, in my opinion. Whereas if you are playing as a killer, if you've got zero communication with your other two people, you're in for a bad time. Like, you really are. There's a massive difference. Anxiety levels. See, I don't have that anymore with DBD. I used to have this thing where, like, if I'm playing... I never used to play killer. Like, back in, like, I think it's 2016, I used to play with a group of friends, and we'd played, like, Survivor Friends. We weren't very good. I think most of the time I'd just throw down pallets and teabag. Like, genuinely, that's all I'd do. It was really stupid. And then I'd probably just die. But then I was actually scared. Like, if it was a Mike Myers or something like that, it'd be really scary. Or even just, like, the hag used to really freak me out. But I've got that feeling back with Texas Chainsaw, so that one wins for anxiety, or like scare factor is the best word for it, I guess, because it does freak me out sometimes when like they just appear out of nowhere sort of thing. It's really cool. That's when playing as the victim, and playing as the killer on Texas has its bad sides. But one good thing about it has brought a few people back playing this kind of game, which I didn't think would play it. So I've got some people to play the family with, which is really cool. But yeah, I think overall DBD still wins for me. I do think Texas Chainsaw will stand sometime, maybe a few years. I do think eventually it'll die out unless the developers hammer it with content. And you know what? I think the first couple should be free, and after that they need to start charging the similar kind of price structure what DBD does, because it has to make money. It's a business at the end of the day. It's not just something for people to toy with. You can't just have a... Or you know what, even give everyone free killers and victims throughout the whole time, but bring out cosmetics. Something what doesn't change the game, but people can buy, because I'm a sucker for a cosmetic. I love a new skin if it looks really cool. Absolutely, I'll pay it. And that way it's fair, because everyone can play as everyone, and the only thing you're benefiting from is the way you look visually. And I think that's how the game will last. It needs to have some kind of income. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to hear your opinion on both games and why you've stopped playing one of them, or which one you prefer, because I think it's interesting to discuss these points, and it's only going to make the developers try harder, in my opinion. Take care.